Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? It's been a while. Welcome back to C Squared, the fantastic podcast from yours truly and my lovely co-host, Caro. Say hello.
I've missed everyone so much, except for Clement, because I talk to him every day. But I've missed everyone here. Thank you for coming into C Squared and for being so patient with us with everything that we've had to do in the last few months.
I finished up a Final Fantasy 15 video that took way longer than I wanted it to. I don't know what happened there.
No, you were just putting all of your enthusiasm into it, and people like it, so...
What happened was, I finished recording the main game in December, and then I was recording stuff like the multiplayer mode, and the Pocket Edition, and the beat-em-up game, and the Disguise demo, and all the associated extra bits for that video. And then Christmas showed up, and with Christmas I wanted to take a break until, New Year's, and then when January rolled around, I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I really just wanted to kind of focus on that big, long, open-world game for a bit. And by the time I started finally getting back to Final Fantasy 15, it was late January, and I was like, oh boy, oh no. And time went away from me, basically. But yeah, we missed a lot of topics. I feel like the first topic we're going to be talking about is kind of dying down a little bit, because I haven't heard too much about it in the last week or so. But, Caro, do you want to invest in NFTs?
No, I don't want to. No. Unless they're nice fucking tits. Then no.
Yes. In fact, that's what I'm just going to put in the, chapters section for this video. Whenever people want to jump to a certain topic, it's not even going to be NFTs. It's just going to be nice fucking titties.
Yes.
Man. So I know NFTs have been a thing all year 2021. I remember seeing a whole bunch of tweets and news about it in the summer of 2021. So it's not like this is so new that I couldn't have talked about it in the last C Squared episode. But oh my god, was it obnoxious as fuck these last 3 months. Good lord.
I hate them so much. I don't see the appeal. I don't see the point. It's really harmful to creators, and it's just really gross. I found out recently that writing, as in articles, can be made into NFTs, which means that someone could take one of my pieces and make it into an NFT, which, by the way, you do not have permission to do, and if you even do so, I am going to get a little legal. But
yeah.
It's just awful. It's ridiculous. You have all these artists and creators who work so hard to, make their work, and then someone comes in and steals it and makes, such a ridiculous amount of profit, and that profit is, so harmful to the environment.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just don't get the appeal. I don't get why they're a thing. It's just... And, a lot of people hop on the NFT trend just because they see it as oh, well, everyone else is, into it, so it must be, good, right? Which is what I feel like is a lot of, celebrity mindsets towards that, I feel.
But, it makes me lose faith in the human race when you see that shit, act out in real time, how everyone is just, endorsing this and stuff. Oh, my God.
I don't want people who are on Twitter endorsing this shit in my mentions. It's why whenever I talk about it on Twitter, I'm always that thing, that. I don't want to type it out, because people searched up this shit, bots search it up too.
That's what I was going to say. I was just saying, well, the reason I don't want to actually say out the word, type it out in anything, whether it's a tweet, whether it's a video, whether it's anything, is because there are just a legion of fucking automated bots who are just going around constantly, upvoting. You could criticize an NFT on Twitter. I have, trashed NFTs on Twitter. And then a bot that supports NFTs and is promoting NFTs. And you can tell when they're bots because their bios and their titles and everything is just about cryptocurrency is the greatest thing in the world. NFTs for life. La la la. And you'll go get a like from people who for all intents and purposes, should be reading what you're saying and being offended or disagree with it, and instead they're just like, yeah, NFTs. I'm like, I didn't say NFTs were good, you freaking bot.
Oh gosh, don't get me started on cryptocurrency too, because I was watching the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, like, I kid you not, half of the commercials were cryptocurrency commercials, and I'm like, what?
That's why I have to talk about it today in C-Squared, because, like, it is just everywhere now. It's in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. It's friggin'... did you see that infamous clip with Jimmy Fallon and Paris Hilton?
Yes.
So Paris Hilton is shilling for NFTs on Jimmy Fallon, and I guess they're both in on the shill because Jimmy Fallon, who doesn't want to be confrontational, who doesn't want to ask questions like a proper late-night host might, he's just like, oh yeah, this is so fantastic. Look, it's your monkey. It resembles you so much. And she's like, yeah, isn't it just a striking resemblance? And let's check out your monkey, Jimmy Fallon. Let's check out your monkey. And you could tell the applause from the audience is because the applause sign went on.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't applauding because they supported the idea. They weren't amused by what was happening. It was more just like, the show's too quiet. You need to clap now.
It's like being held at gunpoint to, like, applaud. I don't know.
I hated that conversation because it was like two robots talking to each other in, like, this fake, artificial, manufactured way. That was just like, every time I see a celebrity endorse this kind of bullshit, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's like the Stepford Wives. It's like they just had their entire personality and their brain just scooped out and just transplanted and replaced with an AI drone or something, you know?
Dude, don't get me started on Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, so a month ago, Bret Hart tweets that he's doing a cartoon. So, like, aside from wrestling, Bret Hart is also a cartoonist, and he's actually a pretty damn good artist. Like, I've seen his doodles and drawings on Twitter before. But, like, a month ago, he tweets that he's starting a new cartoon series, and we're all like, oh shit, sweet, good for you. And he's like, but it's an NFT, and I'm like, no! You were one of the good ones! Why
you were the chosen one! It was said you would destroy the Fed, not join them.
So I was like, why, Brett? Why?
Yeah, it's just sad how many, like, there are people you really respect and really admire, and then it's just like, hey, I'm doing NFTs. And it's like, oh, god damn it.
And I feel like with a lot of cases with these celebrities, like I mentioned before, they don't know the consequences of NFT, so they're just gonna mindlessly jump into it and be like, oh, well, this is profitable, so why not do it? And that's just really harmful because you're not even considering or taking a moment to critically think about what exactly these NFTs are and how they're affecting the environment. Like, NFTs have been linked to increasing the increasing power costs in different cities.
Like, it's making the power bills in New York, like, so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Mm-hmm. And, like, let alone what it's actually doing to the environment for just the climate and our planet. But, like, the thing that also gets me is, like, okay, fine. Let's say they are environmentally friendly. They're not Terrastron, but let's say they're environmentally friendly and that they're doing no damage to the planet or to anyone's power bills or anything like that. Okay, fine. Why am I supposed to care about a JPEG that I could potentially sell to someone else when they could just copy the image on their desktop computer and have it for free?
Yeah, just screenshot it.
Like, here's the problem with the internet and the problem with, like, content creation in general. It's like, look, I don't need to download video game soundtracks, movie soundtracks anymore because they're all on YouTube. And when they're on YouTube, I can just take them. I can just copy them. I can just record the screen, record the audio, and then it's mine. Any JPEG, I can just print screen, and it's mine. You know, there's nothing really stopping me from getting any image I want, any piece of music I want, and adding some kind of not even really technically legal way to stop me from getting it is not going to change anything.
Right.
And, like, at the end of the day, I don't want to collect them. Like, okay, collections are always great when they're physical things. Like when I was a kid, I collected Pogs. Do you remember Pogs?
Of course I do.
What are Pogs, Caro? Please tell me you know what Pogs are.
Pogs are like this little circular, like, I don't know the proper term, but they're like little discs that you can
Yeah.
collect. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they were either like dying out or were just gone by the time I was a kid. But
They were a very
shows that I've
90s
watched-
thing.
Yeah, I know shows that I've watched from the 90s, like The Simpsons, like, made a reference to them. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, Pokemon cards. I remember when Pokemon came out, everyone had the trading cards. They had the binders full of them. Just everybody was collecting these things, Baseball cards, video games. I still collect video games. I still collect plushes of, like, Sonic figurines and stuff,
I own a couple wrestling figures. Like, I'm not hardcore about it, but, like, I have, like, 2 or 3 on my shelf.
Yeah. But the point is, those are physical things that you can keep for as long as possible. You can hold it, you can smell it, you can frame it. Fucking Jake Paul, he put all of these Game Boys into this case, and he hung them up on a table somewhere, and people got really mad at him on Twitter. But hey, he bought those Game Boys, and they're physical pieces of art, and he can do whatever he wants with them as far as I'm concerned. No one's playing their original Game Boy in 2022. I'm sorry. Emulating Game Boy games is the way to go, okay? But the point is, when there's physicality to the collections, it's more special. Digital collections. I don't want a Burger King burger from the Burger King NFTs, or maybe it was McDonald's, I don't know. One of those fast food chains endorsed NFTs, and they were like, hey, we'll make an NFT Big Mac that you can only have on your computer. Why would I want that? Why would I want a digital card of a hamburger that I cannot hold, that I cannot smell, that I cannot put on a wall? Why would I want that? Why would I want a monkey avatar that all look identical? They all look exactly the same, except for like a few key differences. How is that unique? How is that special?
They're also ugly as fuck, too. I'm sorry.
They are! They are ugly as fuck. Like when they showed off that like NFT monkey cartoon, like that red ape or whatever it was.
Gosh.
God!
So, like, Saberspark, he's a, animation YouTuber that I watch. He does reviews of animated stuff. He did like a whole video on like that project and just NFT cartoons in general. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who invests money into this? I don't get it. And they just look like the most lifeless, soulless pieces of animation I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's just like, it's ugly. It's not fun. Like, this is nothing you do for fun, Real collection is something that's kind of worthwhile and doesn't harm the environment. This harms the environment, and it's not even, like, enjoyable. It's not even something I could convince my parents to be like, hey, you should get NFTs. Why? Because you should, because everyone else is. But why? I don't know.
Imagine investing into NFTs, can't be me. Damn.
And, I'm sure there's going to be someone in the comments who's just like, look, you can get really rich from NFTs. And I'm just like, I'm sure you think you can, but that's the way pyramid schemes work. They always try to convince you that anybody can get rich. Anybody who invests will be rich, when really it's only the people at the top who are making profits. It's only the people who are suckering other people who are making any kind of chump change out of this. And it's not something that's going to last the test of time. No one's going to be celebrating NFTs 3 years from now. It's dying out now, as far as I'm concerned. Still, it's like, it just really makes you pay attention to who really doesn't pay attention, you know what I mean? Like, Troy Baker. We all know him. He's a prolific voice actor for anime and video games, He is Snow from Final Fantasy XIII, Joel from The Last of Us. He has been in so many video games. And people genuinely liked him a lot. And then he made a tweet where he endorsed NFTs, and he endorsed this, like, audio sound voice actor version of it, too. Which was especially awkward coming from the top voice actor in gaming, because that thing was essentially like, we're going to NFTs people's voices. We're going to make AI versions of people's voices and sell those so that people can have Troy Baker's voice as an NFT. I could have Troy Baker say whatever I want. Which, you don't want this deep fake dystopian future where people can look like and sound like they're saying whatever you want them to say, because, you know, if Troy Baker's voice gets deep faked and automated, well, you could have him say racial slurs. You could have him say homophobic things. Ooh. You could have him endorse just awful, awful shit. And that's not a good future that I want to be a part of. Like, I've seen a lot of the Star Wars stuff on the internet, because, like, I don't watch The Mandalorian. I don't watch the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But I have seen a lot of people making a stink about Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett, because it's like a deep-faked Luke Skywalker where it looks like him, but it's CG.
Yeah.
And it's his voice, technically, because they automated and took his voice from, like, an old recording he did in the 70s or 80s, and they just, like, modified it so that he is speaking in the show. And for a lot of people, it comes off as so fake and so robotic and so soulless that it kind of takes them out of the show, you know?
It doesn't help either that, like, his lip movements are also really weird.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, that weird technological, like, gap.
I mean, it was already weird when, like, Rogue One came out and they, like, brought back Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
And he looked like a zombie. He looked like one of the zombies from the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. It was so weird.
Oh, gosh.
But, you know, it's just strange when they're bringing back these characters, but they're not recasting them. Like, they should do what they did with Solo. With Solo, they got, like, a different actor to play Han Solo. And I know he was supposed to be younger, but even regardless if he's younger or not, just fucking recast. Just have a different person play Luke as a young man. I'm sorry. Mark Hamill's too old. We're way past that point.
But no, you don't get it. Luke Skywalker has to be portrayed by Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is portrayed in Book of Boba Fett. No, he looks weird here. I don't like the way his voice artificially sounds. Blah, 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 and it's a circle. It's a loop.
Yeah. It's one of those things, it's like, either don't do Luke Skywalker or just recast him. Everyone said Sebastian Stan should be Luke Skywalker, and I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's make Sebastian Stan Skywalker. Why not?
The other fucked up thing about NFTs is that, like, some estates or some groups are making NFTs on behalf of, like, dead individuals. Like, the two examples I can think of at the top of my head are Kurt Cobain and Attica.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's just gross. Ugh.
Another one I know of is Bob Ross. Bob Ross NFTs are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird, because it's like you're profiting off of these dead people who clearly probably wouldn't endorse this shit.
Mm-mm.
And here's the other thing, like, someone made an NFT out of, like, every YouTube creator ever. Like, I went online and someone informed me that, like, hey, Clement, you got your own NFTs on OpenSea. And I'm like, what? What do you mean I have my own on OpenSea? I did not make an NFT, and all it really was my me avatar, which, first off, I think Nintendo's got the rights to that.
Yeah.
But secondly, it was just like, I didn't say you were allowed to do this. And the only reason I didn't make that big of a stink was because it did it to everybody. It did it to Kid Icarus. It did it to the Game Grumps, to Johnny, to whoever. You name it. If they're on YouTube, they had an avatar NFT made of them on OpenSea. Which, and oh my god, there was another person who just, like, took all of the music from Spotify.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
Every little bit of music from Spotify and tried to make that into an NFT. And every single music label was like, we're getting our lawyers. Have fun. Have fun spending years in prison. What are you doing, you dumb shit? Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, how how brainless can people be? Like the OpenSea guy was making NFTs out of Disney. Disney's wild. The mouse got lawyers. If the mouse catches you doing some shit, he's gonna get some lawyers. Uh-huh.
You don't mess with Mickey, huh? Gosh, that was a bad idea. You don't mess with the mouse.
No.
You never mess with the mouse. They are the modern day Shinra, okay?
Oh, God.
They're gonna own this planet soon, all right? But the thing was, I want to go back to Troy Baker just because, like, he endorsed this thing and all these voice actors were, like, criticizing him for it. And everyone just turned on him. It was crazy. Like, if there's anything I'm really happy about with social media is that no one is buying this NFT bullshit. Like, everyone is fighting back against this, just being like, Troy, why? Are you serious? Why are you endorsing this dumb bullshit? Oh my god. And it always happens. They get huge blowback, they get huge criticism, and then they just go, oh, okay, I was wrong. Clearly I didn't understand what I was signing up for. My favorite is Richard Karn. Richard Karn, he played Al in the TV show Home Improvement, Al Borland.
Right.
He was also a host of Family Feud for a while, and I guess his agent got him into the whole NFT thing and told him it was a good business move, because that's what I assume all celebrities are being told right now. Because crypto's the future! And he got huge blowback, so he immediately deleted the tweet, and then he made another tweet just like, on second thought, I don't think I'll endorse NFTs at this time. And it's just a big smile in this photo. And I don't know why. Just the fact that he was willing to acknowledge that, okay, people hate this, it's bad for the environment, I'm out. Like, just the fact that he immediately backpedaled and just was like, okay, clearly this was a bad mistake, I'm sorry. You know?
Yeah.
Mad respect for friggin' Richard Karn, just for, like, immediately being like, clearly, I'm reading my audience, this is bad.
And, like, I don't get why a lot of these celebrities just don't do that, because, like, you know, if you make a mistake, you just didn't know, like, okay, then be accountable for yourself, apologize, realize that NFTs are unenvironmental and unhealthy, and just, you know, next time look into things that are better. Like, it's something I wish, like, Bret Hart and, like, all these other celebrities did, but...
Yeah.
Not everyone's like Richard Karn. But, yeah, it's just... I want them to go away. I'm tired of hearing about them every day. And the fact that they can be turned into, like, writing pieces scares me. Like, I'm gonna say this one more time. You do not have permission to turn any of my writing into an NFT. I will legit take fucking legal action if you do.
Hell yeah.
So that is your one and only warning. Okay.
I love that you said it that way. It's your one and only warning.
Snap, snap.
Snip, snap, snip, snap. But yeah, I feel like I had to talk about it at some point just because it's been the big talk of 2021. We're getting into 2022 and it's starting to die down. I haven't really heard a lot about it since the Super Bowl, which is ironic.
Yeah, you figured, but...
You would think the Super Bowl would only amplify it and make it worse, but...
I mean, they renamed the stadium where the Los Angeles Lakers play. It used to be called the Staples Center, now it's the Crypto.com Center.
Ah!
I told you that, right?
That's awful!
Yeah, like, it used to be called Staples, but I guess Crypto.com got, like, the naming rights because, like, every few years companies can, like, buy out, like, the naming rights of stadiums if they have enough money. So I guess Crypto.com was the winning bidder, and yeah, it's the Crypto.com arena. But don't you want to go to Cryptoland? You know, the resort that only runs on cryptocurrency and is probably not going to see the light of day ever.
Oh, you mean Fire Festival 2? Yeah, I can't wait for Fire Festival 2. That'll be great.
Oh, gosh.
Hi. So I just wanted it out there that I don't endorse NFTs. I think they're awful. I think they're stupid. I think that anyone who finds them fun is easily amused and needs a better hobby.
And I do not endorse NFTs either. They are nasty, they are gross, and if you invest in them, then go touch grass.
Yeah, go touch grass.
Do something worthwhile.
Please find a better hobby. Collect real things. Collect Pogs. I'm sure there are Pogs still out there. But Kara, let's move on to something lighter. Recently, you got exposed to a movie franchise you haven't watched before that I was a fan of in junior high school. The Matrix.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. So, for some background, I had never seen The Matrix. I think we talked about this in an earlier C-Squared episode where you talked about
It was 2 episodes ago because, and I definitely put it as part of the display picture, because like you saw CM Punk for the first time.
Yes.
And I mentioned at the very end that the Matrix Resurrections trailer came out, and I was originally dismissive of it because, you know, a Matrix 4? Why? The trilogy's wrapped up. We don't need a 4th movie. Like, why are we making another Matrix? Goddamn money-grubbing Warner Brothers. But then I saw the trailer, and it just kind of brought me back to junior high, and it kind of felt like The Matrix to me. It didn't feel like it was out of character or just like didn't understand The Matrix. I saw that trailer, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Matrix 4! So I was kind of excited for it, and because I was excited for it, I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to rewatch the series and to get you into The Matrix for the first time.
I pleasantly loved my experience with The Matrix. I think it's great. I think it's really wonderful. It's like very 2000s, but I mean this in like the best possible way. Like, this isn't a diss or anything. Like, it's very nostalgic to that time period. And, like, I love media like that. So,
I mean, the thing was, The Matrix was kind of a trendsetter when it came out in 1999. Because, like, after that movie came out, everybody was wearing lawn trench coats. Everybody was wearing sunglasses at night. Everybody was doing bullet time and slow motion action scenes. Yep. It just felt like so many movies from the early 2000s was trying to ape off of The Matrix and trying to replicate what The Matrix had done, you know?
For sure.
So we saw the first one first. What did you think of the original Matrix?
God, it was so fucking good! Oh my gosh! I love the first one so much. Like, I think you heard me gushing through the whole movie, because, like, all of, like, the long dialogues and the philosophy that goes into it, and I'm just like, whoa, this is a trip.
Well, that reminds me. How much did you know about the actual plot going in? Like, did you know what the general concept was, or did you just think it was a bunch of people in trench coats shooting at each other with guns?
I knew there was, like, an underlying, like, philosophical approach to the movie. Like, it was, like, the themes are really sophisticated. Like, I got that kind of, like, round, you know, work for it. But, mostly, I came to know of it through, like, the tropes that I saw in other media, you know?
So, like, you saw, like, the bullet time, like, the slow motion, like, jumps and kicks and stuff. But you had no idea about the machines and the dystopian apocalyptic future and reality being fake and all that stuff. Okay. Because that's interesting, because, like, when the original movie came out, the ad campaign also hid that. They also hid that from everyone going into the theater, because the big question that all the commercials were asking was, what is the Matrix?
Yeah.
What is the Matrix? The only way to find out what the Matrix is to see it for yourself. So people had to go see the movie in the theater to understand what exactly the plot was about. So, and I remember when I was a kid, it genuinely was a big culture shock, because it was like, okay, I'm expecting an action movie with Keanu Reeves. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of explosions and gunfights, and it's going to be pretty cool.
And see, that's what I wondered too, yeah.
And then there's that part where he takes the red pill and he wakes up in the red tube and he's completely shaven. He's bald. He has no eyebrows. He's got all these wires and stuff hooked up to him. It looks like fucking H.R. Geiger's nightmare. And coming from H.R. Geiger, that's something crazy. And it's just horrifying. Like, it turned into a horror movie for little young me. I must have been 11 at the time. When there's just pods of people and machines everywhere, and everyone is locked in this purgatory, locked in this hell, that the Matrix is a prison, that everything they've been living their whole entire life is a lie. And that shook me. It was just like, what the fuck? It was genuinely not what I was expecting, and the movie was not what I thought it was going to be when I first saw it.
Absolutely. And all of Morpheus's like lines and stuff, he just made me think, and I'm like, yeah, you're onto something. You're onto something.
Lots of questions about what exactly is real, what exactly does matter. Yeah. But at the same time, when it wasn't horrifying, it was incredibly badass, and it had an amazing soundtrack, and it was just so fucking exciting to watch. And it's infinitely requotable.
Yep.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I quoted with my friends, like, whoa, or I know kung fu, or free your mind. That is the sound of inevitability.
And like that experience must have been like wild back then, not just like with the first movie, but like the trilogy back then. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Just living through like what you were in middle school at the time. Like living through that time period while the Matrix was like at its peak.
It was a different time when the Matrix was the only movie. Because like Matrix 2, people were fucking excited. People were so amped to see Matrix 2 because the first movie was so awesome. And it's like, you ever watch old footage of like people going to a screening of like Matrix 2, Matrix 3? They're all dressed up in trench coats. They're all wearing their sunglasses. Everyone wants to be Neo or Trinity. Everyone wants to look, 2000s badass.
Right.
Everyone wants to wear leather. Everyone wants to look cool. And people were excited for those sequels, but unfortunately the sequels were not what people expected. And I think everyone would agree that probably the best Matrix movie is the first one.
I agree. Like, all the movies were great in their own ways, but definitely the first one I vibed with a lot. It's the one that really got me like, yo, I'm down. I'm hooked with this. Let's watch everything else.
Yeah.
So, those are my general feelings towards it.
And I actually liked the second Matrix movie just fine. Like, I didn't understand the critic hate for that one. Because the action scenes in part 2 are still pretty awesome. Like, I think the traffic scene when they're on the highway and they're like driving past all these cars and these cars are just colliding into each other and Trinity's driving against traffic on the bike. Like, I think that's incredibly exciting and incredibly thrilling shit.
Yep.
And also the scene with Neo versus Agent Smith and Agent Smith. And Agent Smith, and Agent Smith, and Agent Smith.
Oh my gosh.
Never seen a movie scene like that, ever. I still haven't seen a movie scene like that.
Neither have I. And I popped so hard for that scene. Because I was like, oh my gosh, yo, this is crazy.
Because, like, it's a brilliant idea. Because, like, at the end of the first movie, Neo becomes the One. He becomes basically Superman in the Matrix universe. He can stop bullets. He can fly. He can literally fight off Agent Smith with one arm. So it's like, how do you make a villain top that? How does Neo fight something worse than that? Well, easy. You just multiply Agent Smith by 100. So Agent Smith gains the ability to, like, copy people's ability. Agent Smith gains the ability to copy himself onto other people, and then he just, like, attacks Neo with, like, thousands of himself. And so you got all these identical Agent Smiths going at him at the same time while Neo is fending them off. But of course, the overwhelming amount of people, it starts getting tiring after a while, and it gets absurd to the point where he's surrounded by what's like a Dynasty Warriors Muso fucking game. And he's trying to fight them all off with one pole, but it's not gonna work, Neo. It's not gonna work. And I've never seen a fight like that. I've never seen like a 1,000 people versus one person.
I know. It is incredible. Like, I was watching, because you recommended watching the behind the scenes stuff. And there's so much thought that goes into all of these movies. Like, 'cause you have to choreograph all these moves, and then I know a lot of the actors had to learn like actual like martial arts for this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of thought and like a lot of love put into it.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because, yeah, if you own the Matrix Blu-ray, there's a good chance you already have this. But there was an amazing behind-the-scenes documentary, The Matrix Revisited. And it's on YouTube right now, as far as the last time I checked. It's still on YouTube. But it's an 1.5 to 2 hour documentary that goes into the behind-the-scenes making of the movie. But it's like the most extensive, comprehensive footage you could want. It's like, it's the actors joking around. It's the actors telling, like, revealing stories about their time working on it. Like when Trinity, like, sprained her ankle when she was doing the lobby scene. Like, it's bad enough she tells you that she hurt her ankle during the scene and she was, like, sad about it. But then they show it. Like, they actually show her, like, twist her ankle, and then she starts breaking down crying while all the choreography people and all the stuntmen start, like, consoling her, like, it's gonna be alright, like, you know. It makes the Wachowskis look so fucking funny and so creatively interesting, and it makes you're people who love Keanu Reeves, I promise you will love him so much more if you watch The Matrix Revisited.
My love for Keanu Reeves shot even more with watching the trilogy and just seeing him, like, you know, be himself. And the behind the scenes stuff is just like, he's a cinnamon bun. He's my precious little cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
He also wore a sweatshirt of my college once, so extra props to him. But he's great. Keanu is a gift.
Because I also like these moments where, like, he's being goofy and funny and he's telling jokes, but at the same time there's, like, moments where he's trying to do a stunt in the dojo scene and he keeps screwing it up. It keeps going wrong. And with take after take after take, he starts getting, like, more and more mad that he can't do the triple kick, and he's just getting frustrated and pissed off, and he talks about that. And then they come back the next day and he does it in, like, 2 takes, you know? Which is such a relatable thing, because we've all had that thing where we're beating our head against the wall trying to get something done. Then we take a break, come back to it, nail it in the first try, and it's like, oh, okay. I just needed to stop for a bit. I just needed a break. I just needed to relax. Thank God. You know. So I love that documentary. Everyone should watch The Matrix Revisited. It's fantastic.
Yes.
But the other thing about the second movie I also liked was, like, I still liked the philosophy behind it. I still thought the ideas and the discussions they were having in that movie were interesting. I guess for other people it would be boring because the movie begins and it's like a half hour to an hour of, like, Zion stuff, where they go into the human city and they're just kind of talking about freedom and talking about the importance of relying on machines, even though we're in a war with machines, and ain't that ironic, ha ha ha. And even just discussions of, like, why we make choices and why things are important. Like, there's a lot of philosophy in the first hour, and a lot of just no combat, no action, no nothing.
Right.
So, but I enjoyed those conversations, so it didn't really bother me, and I was so invested in the lore of this universe that I wanted to see Zion, and I was fascinated by Zion, that it didn't really bother me, personally.
No.
But I will say that at the end, as a kid, I did find the scene with the architect pretty boring. Because you're into the end of this thing, you want to see him end the war, and then he goes into this room with fucking Colonel Sanders from KFC. And he's just talking like vis-a-vis, accordingly, conquistador. Yeah. and he's just talking about, you know, causality and human nature, and the previous people who came to me were all very driven by logic and blah 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 blah. You are driven by love, blah 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 blah, you know.
Yeah.
As a kid, I thought it was boring, but as I went back and watched it as an adult, I don't think that scene's nearly as long as I remember it being.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess because I'm older and because, you know, I enjoy these kinds of conversations more now, I dug in a lot more as an adult than I did as a kid.
Definitely. And, you know, that perception can change when you get older.
Yeah.
You're able to understand more mature themes.
I still think it's worth checking out the second movie. It's not as good as the first, but the action is still incredible, and the philosophy discussions are still fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
And there's that spicy scene.
Oh?
The rave, remember?
Well, I remember the rave. Actually, that's something I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah.
Coming back, I had forgotten just how much like Neo and Trinity are just on each other like that whole movie. Like they can't get away. They can't stop touching each other. They can't stop kissing. They can't like there's that moment where they're in the elevator and their friends go out to like meet up with their families and stuff. And as soon as the elevator door closes, as soon as it shuts, blah, blah, they're making out. They're just making out in the elevator. It's so funny.
And I was telling Clement, like, damn, this is a horny movie. We're 20 minutes in, this is already a horny movie.
It's like every scene. It's like as soon as Neo sees her at the rave, he stops talking to the important world leaders of Zion, the people who he could learn a lot from, and he's just like, sorry, my girlfriend's here, I gotta see her. And as soon as they meet up, making out, and then she's like, I'll take you to somewhere, we'll go somewhere nice, and then gratuitous sex scene.
And like, you see close shots of everyone just dancing and grinding on each other, and then it cuts back to Neo and Trinity fucking.
I also like the final shot, that like, they're holding each other like, you know, I don't want to lose you, and they're holding each other really tenderly, and it's sweet. It's sweet, but Trinity's leg is like conveniently posed right over Keanu's ass crack.
Yeah.
So like she's comforting him, but she's also holding him in such a weird way where her leg is wrapped around his ass so that we don't see his ass, which is, you know, a little goofy, but you know. I guess I would say that the third movie is probably my least favorite movie of all of them, and that includes the fourth one, which we'll get into the fourth one. But it's not, I don't think it's terrible or anything. I just think it is the culmination of what the story's been leading up to, and so much of it is just that, because the majority of that movie, I would say the big middle part of that movie is Zion getting destroyed, Zion fighting the machines. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's a spectacle for CG. It's a spectacle for the action scenes. It's something else, but there's no philosophy being doled out during those scenes. There's no crazy kung fu fights. It's just a lot of machines getting shot with bullets and towers falling over and explosions and rocket launchers, and it doesn't involve the main characters because Neo and Trinity are off to the Machine City. Morpheus and Niobe are racing to Zion. So most of the time you're watching the Zion plot go out, you're watching like Link's wife and her friend like load rockets, and the counselor guy is just like, how much time until we have, you know, it's just a big chunk of the movie that's all action, and sometimes that gets kind of boring after a while.
Mm-hmm. It was okay. Like, obviously I like the first one and the second one more, but like, the way I considered it, it's like, it's the conclusion to the trilogy. So, like, you know, I wouldn't expect, like, anything, like, super intensive for the climax. Like, the story had already been developed at that point, and I believe it came out, like, didn't it come out, like, later that same year 2 came out, or was it the next year?
It was pretty close, because, they basically filmed both movies, 2 and 3, at the exact same time, and they released the third one maybe half a year or a year after, I don't know, but it wasn't a long wait at all. Yeah, what'd you think of the final confrontation between Neo and Agent Smith?
It was a final confrontation.
You didn't like when they turned into Dragon Ball characters and started flying in the air and creating these gigantic explosion punches that made all the rain explode in a ball of water?
That was pretty cool.
I just like the behind the scenes of like they had actual like people wearing Agent Smith masks standing in the streets during that fight.
Mm-hmm. I want to be an Agent Smith extra.
I want that mask. That's what I want.
It's gotta be there somewhere.
I want an Agent Smith mask, goddammit. I'll just wear a suit and start walking around like I'm one of the clones that got away. Yeah, as a kid in junior high, I definitely remember reading the internet. I would go on forums and stuff, and people definitely didn't like 2 and 3 the way they did the first one. Again, I still like part 2, but most people didn't. Most people thought the Matrix sequels were all bad and that the only good movie was the first one. But, I was still a diehard guy where I bought the entire box set. I got, like, all the movies in one collection, along with the Animatrix. We haven't talked about the Animatrix.
The Animatrix, we have to talk about that. Yes. It's probably, like, my second favorite thing out of all the ones that you've showed me.
Yeah.
So I would go 1 Animatrix, 2, then 3.
Interesting. Which one was your favorite short?
Gosh, I gotta pull up the list of the shorts again. Give me one moment. In the meantime, while I do that, why don't you explain to everyone what the Animatrix is?
The Animatrix was an anthology movie that took animators from all over the place, Western animators, Japanese animators, and they told their own unique stories set in the Matrix universe. It wasn't necessarily connected to the movies, aside from one, which was The Flight of the Osiris. Every other story was kind of a standalone thing that, doesn't really connect with the main plot, but it's an interesting way to look at that universe and look at that lore. My favorite, personally, was Beyond. Beyond is a short where a whole bunch of Japanese children go into this ghost house that they've always steered clear of because weird things happen in this house. Like, gravity works differently in this house, birds transform into other animals in this house. Like, there is something very strange and magical and fucked up about this house. Although, when the children go there, they don't actually find themselves afraid of the house. They actually find they're having so much fun jumping off of ledges and not hitting the ground. And they're just like playing around, smashing bottles and watching the bottles like break and then form back together. There's something really bizarre about this house. And they're all just having so much fun with each other, just enjoying the moment, enjoying this amazing, wonderful experience. But in the context of the Matrix, it is a glitch.
Yes.
It's like the Matrix is like being weird and screwy, like any kind of video game would be, So at the end of the short, agents show up and they like take over the house and they clean it up. And when the kids come back to it, the glitches are gone and all the magic and wonder is gone. And so these kids, they never actually get unplugged. They never know what the Matrix is. They never actually discover the reality of their situation. But under the context of what the viewer knows, it's a fun explanation and it's a fun side of how that world would be for normal people who don't know anything.
And I guess in a sense you could also connect that to like real world stuff too, because there's always like the mystery of like ghosts and the paranormal and, all these supernatural things in real life that, people investigate and stuff. And there's always just like this other reality, other realm that people are interested in.
Yeah.
So, that combined with the childlike sense of wonder and innocence and discovering new things, that's what I liked about that short too. And that's actually one of my favorites. I liked Beyond a lot. There are 2 more that I enjoyed in particular. One of them was Program, just because I love the animation in that.
Oh yeah, the animation was fantastic.
It's some clean stuff. And I like the story in that. And then the other one that I liked was the Second Renaissance. Like, that whole story.
That kind of is connected to the main story in that it actually tells you how the war started and why we're in the situation that we're in. So it is major backstory for the Matrix that wasn't necessary at all. Like, you can watch the movies without knowing why.
Yeah.
But yeah, this goes into basically, robot racism, robot rights, and all that shit,
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic chronicle. It's a fantastic way of showing how people get persecuted. In this case, they're robots, but at the same time, this happens in real life. This kind of deplorable, fucked up human behavior, and it happens to real people, not just buckets of bolts, not just machines who want to live. And horrifying imagery sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when you actually get into the war scenes and they start tearing apart the humans and shit, it's oh my god.
Yeah. I like the world building in that. So, for me, who was new to the Matrix and was just wanting to learn more about kind of the how and why, that lore is structured, I enjoyed, the Second Renaissance a lot. I also like the second Renaissance because I didn't realize that Codename Kids Next Door parodied it. And it makes
Right, you
sense
told me
given
about
the time
that.
period. Yeah. So to my younger ones in the audience who watched Cartoon Network in the 2000s, if you remember the Codename Kids Next Door episode where number one gives, I think he had to give like a book report on the Declaration of Independence, but instead he like does this entire wild presentation on the history of the war between kids and adults and why that conflict came about. And if you look up some of the shots from that episode, it mirrors exactly to the ones in the second Renaissance. So when I compared them back to back, I was like, oh my gosh, this completely flew over my head as a kid. But now that, like, I'm older and I've watched that short, it makes total sense to me, and that's amazing.
Final short for you, at least on HBO Max. It was the first one for me because I was watching it off the DVD, which is kind of awkward because, like, we're watching it together, and I'm watching the DVD, you're watching the HBO Max version, and the shorts are all in a weird order in comparison.
Yeah.
Like, Flight of the Osiris was my first short, and it was the last short for HBO Max.
Yeah. So Clement would be like, okay, I got a detective story, but then I was like, oh, I got world record.
By the way, there's a bird on my roof, and it's cooing like crazy. If you hear it, I'm sorry.
It's okay, a plane just flew over my house, so...
Okay, good. I didn't hear that. Flight of the Osiris was kind of relevant to the plot because it's basically this one group finding out that the machines are digging into Zion. And that short was actually done by Squaresoft. It was actually done by the Square company who did Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. So that was a weird Square project for the Matrix, you know? That's fun. And the first scene is like two people fighting in a dojo and stripping their clothes off.
Yeah.
We just get this crazy ass shot of this one girl as soon as her robe falls off, just like the camera pivoting around her ass. It's like, oh my god. Thanks, Square. Thanks. That was amazing. But that short was relevant to the plot because, you know, the characters find out the machines are digging to Zion, and that sets up the big, like, moment where Niobe has to tell everyone else, like, hey guys, the machines are digging, and she found that recording because she's the main character of the video game Enter the Matrix.
Yeah.
So Matrix kind of had its own extended universe going on. And what I like about Enter the Matrix is that the Wachowskis knew that video games were just as good at telling stories as, like, movies or television shows. So they actually made, like, an entire plot around that. They actually made an entire plot, filmed live action footage for the video game, and made that basically Matrix 2.5.
Yeah.
So I think that's really ambitious. I think that was really awesome in 2003. It was on every console, Xbox, PS2, and GameCube, which is fantastic. I wish the game was better. I wish the game was more fun to play. But I still think that was kind of a novel idea at the time.
Yeah.
If you can handle bad escort missions where you have to protect people and they're not allowed to die, if you can handle running around dark brown sewers for a good chunk of that game, if you can handle early 2000s game design, yeah, you might be able to get into it. I don't know.
It's gonna be a no from me, boy.
That takes us to the point of all this, the reason we watched these movies at all, because in 2021, they released a new movie. Lana Wachowski returned to tell a very intimate story that brought back the characters of Neo and Trinity, although some people might be going, wait a minute, Neo and Trinity died at the end of the third movie. Spoilers. How are they back? Well, that's what the whole movie's about, you know? And it's definitely different. It's definitely very unlike the first three movies, and I think that's why a lot of people are rejecting and hating on this thing.
I don't get why, because, like, for what it was, I thought it was fine. I think if you're, like, making a movie about the Matrix in 2021...
Yeah.
I feel like the movie would be different simply because, like, the culture and, like, the technological advances are so different and so advanced now compared to the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And when you consider, like, the fate of these characters nearly 20 years after the last movie, it would also make sense that they decided to go with the structure and tone that they did for Matrix 4.
Yeah.
So with all the criticisms, I was like, really? Because that wasn't my reading, at least.
Well, it's interesting because, like, Lana Wachowski made a very meta movie where it knows it's trying to be a soft reboot. It knows that it is trying to replicate what the first movie did while being a 20-year later continuation with a lot of the same actors, you know? And so what they did was they put Neo back into the Matrix, and they kind of erased his memories and configured with his memories that, oh, those movies, the previous movies, that's a video game you made.
Yeah.
That's something you cooked up in your head when you made a video game. That was your idea. You came up with that plot. Good one, Thomas Anderson. Good one. And there's this crazy montage which has White Rabbit by Jefferson Starship.
Yeah.
And Neo is like making the new Matrix 4, and all of the people he's working with are just so like Matrix nerds in the way that fanboys are, in the way that like casual moviegoers are, and it's just like, it's about philosophy. It's an allegory for transgender rights. It's an allegory for this and that and this and that and this and that. And they're just like throwing out all these buzzwords, and they're just constantly quoting it back, like, whoa, you know. They're doing all the things that I guess we've done in this podcast. So like Neo is very like distant and very apathetic about like all of this, because, you know, he made it, he lived it, and you can tell like this is a very intimate story by Lana about having created the Matrix and having to listen to like 20 years of people going, oh, it's the greatest thing in the world, blah 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 blah. And I think it's interesting that they frame the story as though Keanu has to make Matrix 4, the video game, because Warner Brothers demands it.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't make Matrix 4, someone else is just going to do it for them. You know?
Yeah.
So it would be better for Thomas Anderson to work on Matrix 4 because they're the ones who created it. And, you know, it would be a more intimate, more personal story from them. But they didn't really want to make a Matrix 4, and yet they're making a Matrix 4. Like, it's very meta. It's very strange to see a movie that's outright saying, we made this movie because the studio wanted us to. Here's what I got, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember seeing interviews with Lana Wachowski talking about how, like, this was kind of like a coping mechanism for losing their parents. And I think, like, bringing back Neo and Trinity and giving them, like, the happy ending they never got, giving them, like, this fantastic epilogue. And that's what I think of Matrix 4. I don't think of it as a continuation. I don't think this is going to start a new trilogy or make an entirely new story arc. Like, we're not getting, like, a series of new Matrix movies. I might be wrong about that. But we're not. Because, to me, this is more an epilogue than a continuation.
Right. Right.
It's more to let you know how the world turned out after Neo saved the day. And I like that so much of what he did in the original trilogy had a meaning. Like, the war with the humans and the machines did end. And there are synthients, is what they call them, the machines. Like, synthients who are now working with humanity and helping them grow, like, actual proper food instead of the goop they've been eating all these years. So now they can grow, like, strawberries and whatnot. You know, they've been actually living peacefully in coexistence until like a whole bunch of machines really wanted that energy source back. They wanted humans back, and so they went into a civil war with their own kind, with machines, and that's how we get our new villain, the Analyst, which is Neil Patrick Harris.
Right.
And I like that by the end of the movie, it leaves it on an optimistic enough note that you don't need a sequel. Like, that could be the end of the story right there. For me, this movie is just about reconnecting with this world, finding out what happened after the third movie, giving Neo and Trinity a much happier ending than they got previously.
Yep.
And it's a lot more intimate. It's more about love than it is about the philosophy of choice and consequence and freedom and all that stuff, you know?
It makes sense too, and that's basically what I got out of it. Like, I didn't
I didn't want, like, a movie that forced the action for the sake of, like, you know, making a action-packed sequel. Because with a lot of, like, Hollywood sequels, you find that you have to force, like, plot lines, you have to change characters for no reason, and then it ends up being, like, an inferior product to, like, the first movie that you make. Because, like, it's just... eventually you just kind of, like, lose direction of what you really want for their movie. So for Matrix 4 to go in this direction, especially after seeing the 3 movies and the Animatrix, like, all in that, within that, like, 2 or 3 week span, this was back in December. But, like, I enjoyed 4 for what it was. I think it didn't need to accomplish anything mind-blowing or significant that was already done, like, 20 years ago, so, you know, what's kind of the point of doing it now?
Yeah.
I was just glad that everyone just got a more happier ending than 3. I kind of felt like 3's ending was just kind of like there. It's just kind of like, this is how it ends. Okay, all right. I think what 4 does gives the characters more justice. Honestly.
Yeah. It was weird. I didn't take it as like, why wasn't this as good as The Matrix 1? I knew it was never going to be as good as The Matrix, like the original movie. I don't think they'll ever replicate that because it was just such a perfect movie, and it's really hard to tap into that. And also, I just think it would be like dishonest to make a movie that's nothing like 2 and 3, because that's clearly what they wanted to make. You know, you can hate the Wachowskis all you want. That's the movie they wanted to make. 2 and 3 is The Matrix. And 4 being closer and similar to 2 and 3 was not shocking. I didn't expect it to be crazy different. But I like how they adapted things. I like how the new Matrix that Neo finds himself in has been updated to reflect the times. And it's kind of an interesting analog that, like, everyone's on their phones and stuff. Like, there's that one part where he's in the elevator in the montage and everyone's on their phones and he's the only one looking around being like, he's the only one not looking at his phone. And I just think that's an interesting way of keeping humans in line. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't like mind-blowing. There were a lot of characters I wish were back in their original form. I wish Lawrence Fishburne was still there as Morpheus. I wish that Hugo Weaving came back as Smith. Because Smith is in the 4th movie. Mm-hmm. And apparently he was supposed to be in it. But scheduling conflicts got in the way, so they cast someone else as Agent Smith, which in The Matrix, that's easy to do because you can just rewrite your appearance, whatever.
Yeah.
But, man, it would have been enhanced if it was Hugo Weaving, I think. You know?
I know. He still did, like, a fine job. It's just, I miss Hugo.
Yeah.
You know what The Matrix 4 really was missing, though?
What's that?
Another Agent Smith versus 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 Agent Smith fight.
Yeah. The action scenes are not nearly as mind-blowing as the first 3. Like,
but I mean, like, it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
You know?
And I still think there was some cool shit in it. I love that moment where Neo and Trinity are driving down the street on the motorbike. Because, like, they've done something to, like, instead of just having, like, agents tap into people to, like, control them and do whatever, they've basically hardwired every single human in the Matrix to be able to go fucking full-on zombie mode whenever they want. They turn them into bots, is what they say. So, like, you'll see, like, this one guy sleeping with his wife in his bed, and then, like, he just, like, turns on, and he dives out the window, and he fucking splats on the sidewalk just trying to land on Neo and Trinity as they're driving through the streets. It's so fucking surreal and crazy to see all these people diving out of these buildings. Everyone's committing suicide and jumping out of these buildings just to swarm these 2 people on a bike. It was like, oh my god. That was kind of fucked up and yet kind of exciting to watch. I liked how he was deflecting missiles and deflecting other cars and stuff. I thought that shit was actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can't match the fight scenes of the original, and being a soft reboot, there are definitely shades of the originals that pop up, and every time they happen, you're just sort of like, yeah, it's the first movie again, we get it. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, when he fights Agent Smith, they're literally doing the things where he punches through concrete, and he does the multiple punches against the wall kind of thing. Like, yeah, that was in the first movie, we know. But, what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
It's not a perfect movie. It's probably my third favorite compared to 1 and 2. But I liked it more in the third one. And I thought it was a... I just thought there's more interesting things going on in this one than the third one, honestly.
Actually, what am I saying? I like this one more than the third one, too.
But, yeah, I just wanted to get out there. I liked the fourth movie. It wasn't mind-blowing. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but I thought it was a fantastic epilogue to a series that I grew up on, and that's what I treat it as. It's just a nice epilogue to come back to after all these years. I don't want it to have tons of sequels, although I'm sure Warner Brothers will make them. I don't want it to be the beginning of this grand arc. I'm fine if this is the final Matrix thing we ever get, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I was happy with it. I liked it. And I would recommend it if you have HBO Max.
Yes, a big recommend.
You know it's not good shit, though, Kara.
What?
Next year, in 2023, the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U shops will be officially going offline.
No.
You can no longer download any of the digital-only games that may have been on those services. And all that there will be is the Switch. That's the only online functionality with Nintendo at all, is the Switch. Whereas the PS3 is still online, the Xbox 360 is still online, even though those things have been around since 2005, 2006. But Nintendo doesn't operate that way. Nintendo does not operate that way at all.
I fucking hope this means that Nintendo is going to consider adding Game Boy Advance games to their Switch Online, because if you're getting rid of that many, like, GBA games that are probably only playable on the Wii U unless... and 3DS by extension, unless you, like, have those original consoles or emulate them, then I don't know.
Yeah. Because, like, you remember when Metroid Dread was coming out?
Yeah.
And then, like, people started prepping for the Metroid series by, like, downloading all the GBA games off of Wii U.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was playing Fusion and Zero Mission through the Wii U just so that they could catch up, so they could experience the rest of the series. And I'm just like, yeah, that seems like a gold mine. That seems like a no-brainer. Nintendo, why don't you just make a GBA online service for the Switch? The Switch is both console and handheld. The fact that there is no Game Boy Online or Game Boy Advance Online is crazy to me.
I know. Again, you have all these games that just can't be played unless, like, you have the original system. Like, I'm thinking the Pokémon games, Gen 2, like Gold, Silver, Crystal, and Gen 1, Red and Blue.
Yeah.
Like, they're all playable on the 3DS Virtual Console. If you don't have the original Game Boy cards or an emulator, straight out of luck.
Yep. And then what is Game Freak going to have to make a collection for that? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with the Switch, but there's just a lot of titles. You know, the Ace Attorney games.
There is no physical copy of Spirit of Justice.
No fucking Spirit of Justice. That'll be gone. If you don't download it now for your 3DS, that's gone.
I got it downloaded then.
And I'm sure my friend Ted will disagree that it's a good game, but I thought it was very good. I liked Spirit of Justice quite a bit, so I think it would be a big loss if you didn't download that now.
I gotta download it then, because I still gotta finish playing through 5 and 6 of Ace Attorney.
Those games are great. I think they have so many quality of life improvements in how you actually do the non-trial stuff, and the animations are amazing. That, like, I love the 3DS Ace Attorney games. I love Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice more than Apollo and or some of the classic trilogy. Sorry. You know, it's a lot of virtual console being thrown under the rug. It's a lot of exclusive things. Like, I always like this puzzle game called Pushmo.
Oh no!
Pushmo is on both Wii U and 3DS, where you play this little round red guy, and you have to pull out and push in all these different blocks in order to make your way to the flag at the top. And some really creative puzzles going on there. If you don't download that while you can, it's gone forever.
Oh no, you just reminded me. Pushmo's gonna be gone. I love Pushmo. And Stretch
Pushmo was fantastic. If you're a fan of Dylan's Rolling Western, that'll be gone. If you're a fan of a lot of the Mario and Donkey Kong mini games, those will be gone. Box Boy, If you want the Metroid Prime Trilogy, Prime Trilogy is downloadable on Wii U. You can play all 3 Metroid Prime games off the Wii U right now. This is your last chance. Otherwise, it's gone.
It's gonna be gone again.
Oh, man. So, it's just one of those things where Nintendo, they don't do a great job preserving their game libraries. And now we have another console, another handheld, that are not going to have so much of that online service that it's so dependent on.
And Nintendo, you're gonna be mad when people emulate your games. Nintendo. I wonder what you should do.
Because the other thing that's great about Virtual Console over the Switch Online, like the Switch Online, you still have to pay a fee every single month. And as soon as you stop paying that fee, you don't get to play Earthbound anymore. You don't get to play Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 anymore. You have to pay the fee every single month. So in many ways, you're paying a lot more for the Switch Online service to keep a game and play it as long as you possibly can than if you were to go to the Wii U Virtual Console, buy Donkey Kong Country for like $10, $15. Probably 10.
Yeah.
And boom, that's it. You keep it. It's yours forever. You can play it as long as you want. You never have to pay another fee just to go back to it and re-experience it again.
And it just feels like these games, like on the Switch, aren't authentically yours, quote unquote.
Yeah.
As long as you have, like, your Switch Online membership, then you can have those games. But then, if you don't pay it, say bye-bye to all your games.
This is why so many people turn to emulation, It's just an easier way to experience the past. It's really easy when it comes to, like, the older games. If you're talking, like, NES, Super Nintendo games, very, very few emulation issues with those games. But it gets harder as you start going into the 6th gen kind of stuff. Like, when you start going to, like, PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, 360, PS3, because that's when you really need a good computer that can handle all of that stuff. And, hey, there's a lot of Wii games, a lot of Wii U games that you can't just emulate very well, you know what I mean?
No, you can't.
We're getting old, Caro. We're getting old and everything is fading away.
You're getting old.
Oh, no. You're getting old, too. You can't escape. You can't escape.
No. You are getting old.
Oh, Caro. 5 years from now, it's going to feel like a different world to you. I promise.
No.
I promise.
No. No.
Excuse me.
Bless you. No, it's not. I will still have my youth.
So, we kind of talked about this, like, in one of the first C-Squareds when PlayStation was originally going to shut down the PS3 service. But eventually they backpedaled and they decided, all right, we'll keep it up because so many fans want it. And then I downloaded so many great games to my PS3. Now I have, like, all the Suikoden games. And if I were trying to find the Suikoden games physically, my God, that would cost me a pretty penny. I got to experience Klonoa through PS3, and now I love Klonoa. It's just, Nintendo being Nintendo, there's not much more to say besides that.
Well, Nintendo's the Disney of video games, so what you'd expect.
It's going back in the vault for an exclusive time.
I mean, yeah, that's what they basically did with Mario 3D All-Stars.
Yeah.
Even though you can still find copies of 3D All-Stars at GameStop and Walmart.
So fucked up. I never bought that. I never bought the Mario 3D All-Stars. I don't have Sunshine and or Galaxy on the Switch. And if I want to play 64, I can play the whopping $60 to get the N64 online service for a year. Yay!
Gosh. As if you can't play Mario 64 already on your N64 and your 3DS and your Wii U.
That's right. I did download it to my Wii U. I can play Mario 64 on my Wii U, and I could boot up my original, authentic N64, and if I were to do a review on Mario 64, I would do it on the authentic, original console, because that's the way I roll. I figure if I'm like a game collector and a content creator who makes videos about old video games, I have to do it on the original hardware. I only have so much time until they break down and fall apart and I can't use them anymore. Because something similar happened, actually. Something similar. I dug out my old VCR. I dug out all my old VHS tapes. I dug out this old camcorder that I used to film things with in high school and all the high 8 tapes that were associated with it. And now that I got myself an upscaler, something that I use for all of my videos going forward, I figured I would put the camcorder and the high 8 footage into the upscaler in order to record things in 1080p footage. You know, upscale all those old home videos, make them digital, put them on my laptop, tell my friends, hey, you remember that time in high school we did this goofy shit? And then show it to them, and that'd be so fun and so awesome. But I dug it all out. I got the VCR, I got the old camcorder, and they just broke down while in storage. They just broke down and they don't work anymore.
Like, were they squished in storage? Or did you put them in a box?
I put them in a box.
Oh.
A cardboard box.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess something happened.
I don't know.
But, so basically, I put the camcorder in first. Like, I tested that out first. I plugged it into the outlet, and it still works. The electricity still goes into it. And the contraption to, like, eject the tape was actually stuck for, like, an hour.
Oh, gosh.
Like, you would push eject, and it's supposed to go, and it's supposed to, like, open up and let you grab the tape. But it would go, and that's it. It wouldn't open. And I would try to forcibly open it myself, but you can't. You need to, like, unscrew the thing in order to do that. You can't just, like, peel it open with your fingernails. Unless it ejects by pushing the eject button, you're not opening that damn thing, you know?
Right.
So I was like, oh, damn it. So I kept pushing eject for, like, an hour. I kept, like, warming it up and, like, shaking it and just trying to do something to, like, hopefully get it to work before I resulted to, like, bringing out the screwdriver. And eventually, I finally hit eject, and it goes, and it comes and opens up. And I'm like, oh my god, finally! So I put the high 8 tape in, I close it, I set it to play mode, I put the AV cords into my upscaler, and nothing comes out.
Yep.
There's just nothing outputting. So I decided to, like, try it on, like, a regular TV and not do it just on the upscaler, because maybe it's the upscaler's fault. Maybe it's the upscaler is the reason why nothing's coming out. Try it on a regular TV. No, nothing. Just completely dead. So I'm like, ugh. Because this means I now have to buy a new camcorder with an old camcorder with an old high 8 player that I can connect with AV cables to a TV, because otherwise there's no other way for me to see it. Which, if you go on eBay or Amazon, that shit's like $200, $300 to buy an old camcorder like that.
Right.
I'm not made of money.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I imagine that'd be so expensive and stuff.
Then I decided to try out the VCR, because, you know, I got old VHS tapes, things I recorded as a kid. I'd love to have that upscaled. I'd love to have that put onto my computer. And the AV cords work. Like, I tried them with other things. The AV cords are not the problem. But, for some reason, the video output just is so worn down it doesn't work.
Oh.
The audio works. You press the tape in, you press play, it still works, thankfully, and the audio comes out so you can hear it. But I would switch out with, like, multiple AV cords, and they never got picture, never got video. So if I were to record it, you would get the audio, but just a big blue screen. And I put this off for years and years. I should have done this ages ago. My friends wanted me to do it ages ago. They were insistent, get that footage on a computer. And I was like, I'll get to it. Never got to it. I put it off for too long. And now everything's worn down. I gotta buy a new VHS, a new camcorder in order to get this footage. And that's assuming the tapes haven't just corroded and eroded so badly that the picture is terrible.
I was just gonna say, maybe you could find someone to convert the VHS to Blu-ray or DVD, because I know, like, there are services like that out there, but I just don't know, like, how willing you are to, like, do that.
Yeah. Thing is, I don't even know where to look for things like that. I don't know where to mail it to or where to send it to, but, you know.
They're usually, like, stores that you go to, so you, like, drop it off, and then about 2 to 3 weeks or whatever, they just have it for you.
Interesting. But I live in bumfuck Canada, so... Nothing like that in my hometown, which has a population of less than 10,000 people.
Damn.
Yeah. I've made YouTube videos that have more views than people in my town.
Oh, gosh.
It's weird to think of, ain't it?
Compared to my hometown, which had, like, 90,000 people.
Yeah, my town is not that popular. But, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about my VHS woes, how I tried to get something hooked up and set up and it didn't happen.
I'm sure you have, like, lots of wonderful memories. Would you be willing to tell everyone, like, what some of them were, if you remember?
So much high school footage. Like, I was in the drama club when I was younger, and we did a lot of plays, and we filmed a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and we wore wacky costumes, and we even filmed the plays themselves. So I definitely filmed all of that. I have a lot of high school memories. I was the hipster weirdo who was carrying a camera everywhere whenever we went on trips. Did you have someone like that in high school?
Yes, but with the cell phone.
You're revealing my age.
Yeah, well, this is the early 2000s, so we didn't have video phones.
No, not yet, unfortunately.
But I would literally go to, like, trips and stuff with my camcorder. And, you know, when you're a camera person in high school, there are so many people who just immediately turn away and hide and run from you as soon as you turn that camera on. So you know how awkward it is, but it's like, I want to capture the memories. I don't care. I want to document this so I can look back on it 20 years from now. So much for that.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just, like, behind the scenes friendly stuff at school, and yeah, it's good shit. Did you ever film anything, like, in your childhood or when you were in high school?
My mom did. She did most of, like, the camcorder stuff, so I do have videos and VHS tapes of, like, childhood memories and, like, living in my old apartment. I say the first 2 or 3 years of my life, my mom heavily recorded on VHS. We'd just been meaning to find, like, a place to convert all of that. Family members would send us videotapes of, like, what was going on, like, back home in Peru, where most of my family is. The problem was, because of the technological advances Peru has compared to the US, they just tend to be years behind on tech. They'd always send us Betamax tapes.
Okay.
And we do not have a Betamax player. So we still have those Betamax tapes, but they're, like, in the basement. We've just never seen what's on it unless, like, because we actually legit did this once. Like, my uncle brought in a Betamax player. That shit's, like, huge.
Oh yeah.
And we watched it once there, but that was it. High school, all of my marching band performances were recorded, so I have every single year on DVD.
Ooh.
And some of my competitive performances, like in solos and group ensembles, have also been recorded, like, by CD or DVD, depending on the performance. It's weird. But yes, I do have certain moments in my life recorded.
I look forward to watching them one day.
I was also on the Japanese news 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, I did a high school trip with my Japanese class. It was actually the first time I went to Japan, so this was back in, like, 2012. And we were visiting a high school, I think, if I remember correctly. And we were doing a calligraphy activity, and the news was there. So, you can see 3 or 4 seconds of me, like, in some Japanese TV show news clip 10 years ago. I doubt you'll track it down. I haven't, actually.
Oh.
But I highly doubt you'll track it down. Good luck.
Oh, I'll find it.
It is out there somewhere, but good luck.
Are we talking like YouTube or like their actual website?
On YouTube. It is on YouTube.
Interesting.
Good luck finding it, though.
2012 footage. I bet I could find it. I always love like freaking people out with Laserdisc and Betamax.
Yeah.
Because like Betamax is just gigantic VHS tapes and Laserdiscs are just gigantic DVDs. So it's like you pull out this fucking record-sized thing. Who wants to watch Jurassic Park?
Gosh. Even my parents didn't have Laserdisc.
I don't know anyone who had Laserdisc either, really.
Mm-mm.
We held on to VHS long into the 2000s, and it wasn't until like 2002, 2003 when we were like, okay, we should probably start getting DVDs. They got bonus features and shit. It's awesome. There's no tracking. You don't have to rewind them. Where the screen would get like filled with so much white fuzzy weirdness, and you had to like
I like the
tilt
fuzzy
with
weirdness.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you like seeing your footage get all wavy and blurry.
Yeah.
And the audio cut out.
One of my favorite things doing growing up was turning on the TV and then feeling the static with my fingers. Because I thought that was so weird, and my mom would be like, "Stop doing that."
Yeah, those are good times. Good times.
I mean, just looking on the meantime of the really weird, funky VCR, like, tape covers. You know, the colorful little, like, images and circles and shapes. I love that shit.
Yeah, I remember, like, old Disney movies would always come in this big white case.
Yeah, I had them too.
Because like nowadays, Blu-rays are all the same size, but Disney movies were always different. Where like you get a Beauty and the Beast, you get a Little Mermaid, you get Aladdin, and it was always just this honking thing that looks like a book. Where like the VHS tape was small in comparison to how big the white booklet thing was.
Oh yeah.
So like you put movies on the shelf, and you'd see like regular VHS tapes that are all the same size, all about the same length. And then the Disney ones are just towering over them like, hey, we're Disney movies, can't you tell? Maybe it was for the children, so they knew exactly where to find them.
Yeah.
They can't read. Where are they going to find the Disney movies? Oh, they're the big white honking ones, duh. Of course. That makes sense.
We had a VHS player first. And then they were selling these for a while because both VHS and DVDs were sold in the early 2000s, but you had a hybrid VHS DVD player, like, thing.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. I loved having that.
Yeah. I should have bought that. I never had that. I bought a DVD player just for, like, the living room and stuff, because I would move my consoles all over the place. Because the greatest thing PlayStation ever did was make it a DVD player.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 2 was not just the hot new thing of 2001, 2000, whenever it came out, because of its games. No. It was also the hot new thing because it could play movies. So anytime you bought a new movie, you could pop it into your PlayStation 2. So it wasn't just a gaming console, it was an entertainment system. And eventually, when I got like DVD kind of players, I guess I just didn't really see any VHS DVD combos then. I was always relying on the PlayStation 2 that whole time.
Good times. It's nice to step back in the past and reflect on these memories, and sometimes I wish I could just get whisked away into a previous era where the present is lost on me and I'm only in awe of the past. Just like in Pokémon Legends Arceus, where you are taken into the past and are introduced to the lost era of the Hisui region.
Oh, yeah. And this is a game I've actually played. I actually played this Pokemon game because I feel like the last time you talked about Snap, I hadn't played it. You talked about Shining Diamond and Pearl, I hadn't played.
Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond.
Exactly. And This time, I've actually played Pokemon Legends Arceus because I was excited to play this too. We've both experienced it. I got to the end. I beat the bad guy at the end. And that was a tough fight. But
Yeah, it was.
like, because it's 2 phases. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a 2-phase final boss fight, and like you struggle with the first fight, and then the second part happens, and it's like, shit, I don't have a time to re-heal or anything. So that was fun. But no, I've beaten Pokemon Legends Arceus. I played it a whole bunch while I was editing 15, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it so much too. It is my favorite Pokemon game in such a long time. I believe it's a compliment, but also at the same time, I don't think it's saying much either. Because, I mean, like, it's good. Believe me, it's good. It's great. But, from what I get from Pokemon games in the last few years, they tend to be pretty linear. Haven't really changed things up much. It's a new region, you know, like... With Sword and Shield, I thought it was okay. Like, I thought the story was weaker compared to Sun and Moon, which I believe has a great story, but, Sword and Shield was just kind of alright. Like, there were some neat things about it, but it didn't blow my mind like Legends did.
Yeah.
But with Legends Arceus, like, there's so many new, like, takes on the gameplay. They mix things up in a great way, and, like, I played this for hours. Like, I binged it the first weekend it came out. It was that good.
This is a game that finally plays like what I imagined as a kid for all these years. Because, like, when I played Pokemon on the Game Boy, the newest console we had at the time was the N64. And I always imagined, instead of getting a Pokemon Stadium, which was just the battles in stadiums, I thought, like, why don't they make a full-on 3D Pokemon game where you get to walk around the world and you get to run into 3D Pokemon in the bushes and battle them there. And it was always something I wanted to happen. But as time progressed, Game Freak stuck to the handhelds, and they did GBA, DS, and those games were still very simplistic in their graphics. Even to an extent, X, Y, Sun and Moon were also kind of simplistic for what they were, just because of the top-down perspective and just because it was a very small scale kind of thing.
Right.
And Sword and Shield got closer to that with the wild zones, where, like, you had those big open spaces where the Pokemon would rotate and change based on the weather, and you had this big grassy open area you could go to that was in the center of the map that was different from the rest of the game.
Right.
And I spent most of my time in there when I played Sword and Shield, and I thought, like, this is the most interesting stuff they've done with Pokemon. They should do more of that. Cut to 2022, Pokemon Legends Arceus comes out, and this is basically what I imagined as a kid. This is exactly what I've always wanted to play since the 90s. A game where you have these big, expansive open fields, and you're hiding in the bushes, and there's just creatures everywhere. Creatures who sometimes only show up at night, creatures who show up when it rains, creatures who might only be in this one specific part of the map. Like, it took me forever to find Growlithe in that one in the one coast area, because I didn't think to climb that one mountain. And when I finally found Growlithe, I was like, oh my god, it's a Growlithe! You know? I had that childlike glee, that childlike excitement of being like, oh, I haven't seen this before! Oh, I gotta get that right now.
Yeah, like, I'm just thinking back to when, you play Pokemon and you used to go to the Safari Zone, and you'd have the options to either catch the Pokemon or, like, throw bait at it.
Throw it with rock
and
at
you can
it.
do that in Arceus. Like, you can throw berries and other items to kind of lure it towards you.
Yeah.
So that it's, like, momentarily distracted while you catch it from the back for a back strike.
Yeah.
And, like, that's really fun. I loved exploring each world. Like, I don't think Arceus is, like, a game you can even rush through. And in fact, I encourage you, if you're picking up this game, take your time with it. Like, literally explore every inch, nook, and cranny that you can in each of the worlds, because there's so much Pokemon to find, and some Pokemon are exclusive to certain areas of the map. So, literally, like, explore as much as you can. Take your time.
I actually found I was doing that without thinking about doing that. Like, I didn't make a conscious effort to delay the plot or anything. I just genuinely wanted to spend more time in the wild and see what was over there and what was over there and what was over there. That, like, I didn't forward the plot too much. I would always just spend so much time in the open world ignoring the quests just because I wanted to see what was over the hill or over in that lake or whatever. And you get swept up in it, because what I also like about Legends Arceus is that this game is really fast-paced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this is a faster Pokemon game than anything that's come before it, where, you know, you play something like XY, Sun, Moon, Sword and Shield. The battles can be a little bit time-consuming, where the health bars drain too slowly, where you have to watch the animation of the trainer throwing the Pokeball and the Pokemon coming out and your opponent throwing out the Pokeball and all this stuff. And with Legends Arceus, it's like the Pokemon are already out. So, like, they're already out when you're going to battle them. And when you send yours out to battle them, you called it out. You calling it out is the start of the battle. Like, both Pokemon are already out as soon as the battle begins. And then you do your moves, and it's super quick, and there's no lawn animations. They don't have any, like, crazy camera angles or anything. It kind of just focuses wherever your trainer's looking, which is different.
Right.
Health bars go by quick. If you defeat one, you can just immediately start running to wherever you were going. Like, you can run as a Pokemon is dying to wherever you want to go. And it just moves at such a brisk pace that, like, you can catch one, and next thing you know, it's 5 p.m. What the fuck? How did so much time go by? Oh my god.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about the battles feel a lot more interesting to me because they've added this agile and strong style where if a Pokemon masters a move, they have 3 different ways of doing that move. They can do it normal, which only uses 1 PP. Sorry, I'm a child. They can do it agile, or strong, which drains 2 PP. That's what it is. That's what it is. I didn't make the game. Okay. Oh my god. Oh man. Okay. Whew. So as I was saying.
Can you please say PowerPoints?
PowerPoint?
I don't know.
PowerPoint? Is that what it stands for?
Yeah, it stands for PowerPoint.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I've just been saying pee-pee.
You can leave this in if you want.
Oh, I'm leaving this in. Are you kidding? This is amazing. But,
My stomach hurts!
so they got these agile and strong style moves, which use 2 power points, not pee-pee. And,
Okay, I'll remain composed now.
And so the agile one is quicker, but it does weaker damage. And the strong style is slower, but does a lot more damage, which can boost the potency of your attacks. So if something does like 80 damage, it can do 90 damage if it's a strong style, or it will do 70 damage if it's an agile. And I like this because the game basically has this Final Fantasy X style chart system.
Yeah.
This turn chart, where it tells you how moves are going to play out in the next couple of rounds. Where like, oh, it seems like the Eevee is going to attack next. But if you use an agile move, you can have 2 turns before Eevee attacks you. So maybe you want to do a quick attack first, and then do a normal attack to optimize and get the most damage possible. Or, you know, it's just a good way to not kill Pokemon when you're trying to catch them. Because if you're fighting them in the wild and you just want to weaken them without killing them, which has always been a problem with the whole entire series, maybe set it to Agile so that you don't do too much damage. So you do a little bit of damage, but not too much that it gets its health bar just in the yellow or just in the red, and then you can throw your Pokeball at it. And I love that. I love that. I don't think the main games will carry that over. I'm pretty sure that'll be a Legends exclusive thing, but I did have a lot of fun with the battles because of those Agile and Strong style extra moves.
I really hope that the main games carry away, like, a lot of the mechanics in this one, because, like, there's the Agile versus Strong style thing for one part, and then the other thing that was probably my favorite is that when your Pokemon learns moves, they don't forget them forever. They actually get stored in, like, their own, like, quote-unquote inventory, so you can switch up your moveset anytime you want.
Yeah, I love that too.
So if you want your like Empoleon to learn Ice Beam, then you can switch it. If you don't need Ice Beam anymore, if you want to use Hydro Pump, then you can do that. And I just don't think it's something that's going to be carried over into mainline Pokemon, but damn, it was so helpful. It's like I've been waiting forever for something like this.
Yeah, like I found I would use that for certain things where like I had a Parasect, and my Parasect had like this strong green energy ball, and it had like X Scissor, which is a bug move. Yeah. And I needed those for like going up against psychic types and other things that bugs were strong against. But sometimes I was trying to capture things and I wanted like that extra insurance. So I would give it like the sleep spore kind of moves to put things to sleep. And I didn't always have room for that based on my setup. So I would exchange like the bug move with the sleeping move every now and then. It always changed depending on what I was going into, but I definitely love that. Because the other thing is, like, you get Pokemon like Golem, who can do, like, a Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. And I don't want all my moves to just be elemental punches, but if I'm in a battle that I know is going to focus on Fire-type Pokemon, give them an Ice Punch, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that would be weak. That's wrong. That's a bad example. I know how to play this game. I'm not stupid. I was fighting an ice type. I would use Fire Punch. There. Yes. I did it. I mean, it's fun traversing the world even. Like, you get all these other Pokemon who you can ride as like a horse. You can glide through the air with them. You can climb mountains with them. You can sail through the water with them. It's just fun. The more you go through the game, the easier it is to actually get through the land so you can find even more rare Pokemon who are doing more crazy stuff.
So one of my favorite things about asking Clement what he thought about Legends Arceus was asking him about his party. Because if you look at his party, if you look at my main party, you can kind of tell the generational difference.
I have received a lot of criticism for this over the years. I understand.
No, it's not a bad thing. I think it's adorable.
Well, it's like, okay, back in the day, I used to do vlog reviews, and I did a vlog review for Pokemon X and Y. So this must have been like 2012, 2014, whenever that game came out. It's been a while. Yeah. And I had footage of me playing the game. I had me like doing trainer battles and stuff. But the thing was, people took notice of the fact that he's using Charizard, he's using Dugtrio, he's using Alakazam, he's using Vaporeon. Well, we got a Gen 1er here. It's a Gen 1er.
No.
This guy likes Gen 1. Tell everybody. I can't help it. I grew up with the original game. I grew up with the original anime. I know those Pokemon the most out of any of the Pokemon. So when I see a Gen 1, Gen 2 creature, because that's what I grew up with, I get more attached and more excited about those Pokemon. I can't help it, okay? I've had a lineup that I've stuck to, you know? I always use Vaporeon as a water type. I always use Raichu as an electric type. It's just the way I am. I'm hard-coded. I can't do anything about it.
Well, my Rosa Raid would blast your Vaporeon's ass out of the ground, so good luck with that.
A Rapidash would smoke him.
So that's Empoleon.
You're a funny girl, Carol. You're a funny girl.
But my party that I used most of the time and that I ended up using in the final battle was Sylveon, which is the fairy Eevee.
Mm-hmm.
I used Typhlosion, Floatzel, which is the water weasel at the beginning. Clement. Well, it starts off as
I remember.
I remember. So I used Floatzel. Roserade, probably my favorite grass type, evolves from Roselia. And that was actually an alpha Roserade that I caught, so it was a big boy. I used Drifblim, which evolves from Drifloon.
The balloon ghost, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Pachirisu.
The electric rodent.
The electric squirrely, yes. I love Pachirisu. And then for a while I had Baneri and Lopunny in my party too.
Nice. What was your starter?
Cyndaquil.
Me too. Although that was obvious, wasn't it? It's a Gen 2 creature. I don't know any of these future gens. Of course it was Cyndaquil. But
But I mean, I got like Rowlet and Oshawott like once you beat the the first part of the game, because you can do that.
yeah, because like Pokemon Legends does not have two versions. There's only the one version of the game.
Yep.
And this is like one of the only ones I can think of where the professor near the end's like, "Hey, you want those other two starters now?" Yeah.
I wish all Pokemon games would do that. Gen 2, for example, is like that one generation where I love every single starter to death, and I've done playthroughs with every single starter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd love to own like Totodile and Cyndaquil after I beat the game with Chikorita.
Yeah. It was very wise of them to start adding in like breeding into Gen 2, because there's no way anyone would give away their Cyndaquil, their Chikorita with only one save file. Because that's one problem with Gen 1 is like, I want a Charmander. Who would give away their Charmander if they can't breed?
Yeah.
That is their Pokemon. Why would they trade? I don't know. But I kind of wish there was breeding in Pokemon Legends Arceus, but I understand that it'd probably add a lot to the game. The other thing I wish that it would do is that you catch so many Pokemon. Like, in order to fill out the research of the Pokemon that you're capturing, which gets you upgrades to your levels and lets you command all your Pokemon, and it has benefits. It like makes the prizes that you get a lot better and whatnot. You always do research notes where, like, if something's weak to fire and it says you'll get research points for using fire on it, then you defeat it with fire. Boom, it fills out the research parts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot, mostly all of them, that are like, catch 2 Pokemon of this type, catch 3 of this type, catch 10 of this type, catch 15 of this type. So I would catch so many Bidoofs, so many of all the critters out there, and then they would just flood my boxes. They would flood all my Pokemon boxes. And I wish that Game Freak would put in some kind of sorting mechanism. I wish you could sort them either alphabetically or by number or something like that, like just automatically, so that I'm not combing through 8 or 9 boxes just trying to find that one Pokemon that I caught like an hour ago, you know what I mean?
Or looking for that one Pokemon to fill out the request.
Yeah.
There's some requests where people will be like, oh, well, fill out the Pokedex entry for Ghastly and then show it to me. And then I had to dig through like 8 or 9 different boxes just to find the one Ghastly or whatever.
Because, like, sometimes they highlight them, but other times it's like, what is the Pokemon in this photo? What's the 2-leaf Pokemon that I saw in the wild? Going through page after page after page after page. I'm like, oh my god. And it's like, you have to release some after a while because it gets so cluttered, and I don't want it to all be Bidoof. You know? So you start having to release some after a while, and you get, like, experience stones that actually, like, level up your stats and stuff, which I also like, where, like, you get a whole bunch of Grift Rocks, Grift Stones, whatever they were, and your special attack can go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4 to level 5 until they get really, really strong by the end of the game, if you focus on one Pokemon in particular.
Speaking of requests, let me ask you this question. Did you do the Weasel request?
I did.
How did that go?
That took me a while. That took me a while. Because, like, I would catch one, and what they want is, like, he wants to see a Pokemon that's, like, 2.8 centimeters or something like it. 2.8 meters, whichever it was. And every time it was, like, 2.2, 2.4, 2.6, 2.5, 2.3. I'm like, God damn it, I wanted 2.8! Where are you? So I caught over the research recommended limit. Like, I had caught as many as the research was asking me to catch, and I only finally found it, like, maybe 3 or 4 more times after that. And I was like, Jesus, finally. So I eventually succeeded at that quest, but man, that took forever.
Yeah. I just had to use an alpha Buizel. Like, eventually I'm just catching Buizels, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just saw an alpha Buizel here. Would that meet the request? And it did, so. Also, did you have any experience with the sunshine form of Cherim?
The sunshine form of Cherim? Cherim.
Yes. Do you
I don't know if I caught Cherim.
I'll show you a picture of Cherim.
Because, like, I remember that was, like, one of the earlier quests I got, and I don't think I ever caught it. I was looking for it, too. Yeah, I never saw that. I never saw either of them. Were they in trees?
Yeah, they're in the trees. So, there is a request where I believe you have to pick a Cherim, or get a Cherim, and I caught, the Cherim for that, whatever. But, I also wanted the sunshine form of Cherim to, complete the Pokedex entry. And there was a glitch in the game where the sunshine form of Cherim had a 0% catch rate. So no matter what status affliction you poured on it, no matter how low you got the HP bar, it was just impossible to catch Cherim.
Oh, wow.
The sunshine form, at least. Like, they patched it out eventually, but for that first week, everyone was just, like, pulling their hair because everyone was like, is it me, or is the sunshine form of Cherim impossible to catch?
Imagine, that'd be amazing. If, like, Game Freak released a game and never patched it, that's just like, oh, this is the uncatchable Pokemon. Try as much as you may. Not even the Master Ball will work. What the fuck?
Oh, gosh. But yeah, I threw, like, 40 Ultra Balls at that thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why can't I catch this fucking Cherim? And then eventually I go online. I'm like, oh, they gotta patch this shit out now. And they did, so you can catch Sunshine Cherim now, but for that first week after release, you just couldn't. All because of an overlooking error.
And think about, like, 20, 30 years from now, if you buy a physical cart of Pokemon Legends Arceus, and the Nintendo Switch Online service is off, and you cannot patch it anymore.
Oh no!
That Pokemon will never be catchable.
Oh gosh.
You will never catch that Pokemon because it's been lost with the patches and the digital content. Oh boy. The only other thing that didn't really do anything for me with Pokemon Legends is still the story and the characters, which at this point it's kind of what I expect from a Pokemon game, but at least it's different from the typical 8 gym leaders, Elite Four, Pokemon League kind of thing that they always do in the mainline games. Like, it is a little different. You play as this character who is from modern times. Like, you're from the modern era that we live in today, but somehow you have been transported into the past Japan, and your knowledge of Pokemon and what you know of Pokemon helps you with Team Galaxy, so you can get research and capture all these critters and show that these people, Pokemon aren't so scary, Pokemon aren't so terrifying, Pokemon can actually be our equals, they can be our friends, they can help us out, which is a fun story to tell in Pokemon. It's like the origins of people becoming friends with Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
But, not much happens. It's like you go, you take out one crazy enraged Pokemon that's going, oh, actually, that's kind of interesting. There's, like, boss fights in this game that are not Pokemon related in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to throw all of these smoke balls at all of these Pokemon going wild and crazy, and the objective is basically not to get knocked out. not to get KO'd by these beasts. And so you have to like dodge roll out of the way and dodge roll their fireballs and dodge roll all these different ground pound effects that they got going on. It's like Pokemon turns into an action game all of a sudden.
Right. And like it was different and fun. Like they're not really like hard.
No,
like, you know, you just gotta basically recognize the pattern and then dodge everything.
For sure. Like I don't think I ever died to any of them.
No.
But it's still enjoyable for what it is, you know. It's a good game. It's a good game. It's the most fun I've had with a Pokemon game in a long time. I liked it more than Sword and Shield. I liked it more than X and Y.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my favorite just because I still think it needs those characters and that music that made the first 2 gens so memorable to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I think of, like, Gold, Silver, I think about all those town themes. I think about Violet City and the route themes.
Yeah, so catchy.
I think about those great characters, and I think about, like, Team Rocket and all the other stuff from the first 2 gens. Like, I think...
Champion Lance.
Champion Lance... Vegeta. Original Vegeta with his brown hair.
Original Vegeta.
And, I think about those characters and that music, and there's just a lot of warm, fuzzy feelings I get from thinking about Gen 1, Gen 2. Legends goes for a lot more of an atmospheric, because you're in the open world. It's like Breath of the Wild, where it's not really throwing these crazy themes at you. It's just a lot of calm, serene, you're in the wild, look how beautiful nature is kind of music, you know? But, like, it doesn't have that crazy impact that a lot of music has. Because there's a lot of music I loved in Sword and Shield, actually.
Yeah.
I loved Hop's theme. I loved the Toby Fox theme. Like, there's a lot of tracks I took away from that game actually being like, yeah, that music's actually pretty kick-ass. Like, even in the beginning, when you go to that forest where the Sword and Shield Pokemon reside... Like, the music that plays in that forest is whimsical and adventurous, and I'm like, oh, I like this track. I like this track a lot. And Legends music's fine. You know, it sets the mood. It's there. But I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. You know what I mean?
I personally love this game a lot. Sun and Moon story is still stronger, but like, it really is my favorite Pokemon game. I played in a long time, probably since Black and White. So, yeah, that's a game you should play. I think you should give Black and White a shot at some point.
That's what they tell me.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is great about Legends Arceus is that it's fun as it is right now, but I think it has the potential to make an incredible sequel and or enhance the mainline games by giving it certain ideas that we're all praising right now. If I can put a lot of the cool ideas of Legends into the main games, or make an even better, much more expansive, much more rich Legends 2, I think we're on track to make one of the greatest Pokemon games ever made.
Yes.
So, Legends is not my favorite. It's not the greatest game I've ever played, but it's the most fun I've had with Pokemon in more than a decade, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's a game where you can catch the Pokemon without battling them if you sneak up on them and stuff. So it's kind of like Let's Go, but you can still battle them and catch them that way traditionally if you want to, and sometimes you'll need to. But it's like the best of both worlds, you know? It's soothing, it's addictive, it makes you remember why we love Pokemon in the first place, and it is an impressive step in the right direction for what this series can be.
Absolutely. I echo everything there.
And I like it more than Breath of the Wild.
Oh! Ooh!
Sorry, I thought you would agree with that.
I do! I'm not sure about the comment section.
I just wanted to throw gasoline on this fire before we leave. That's
just
all.
Run.
And now we're ending C squared. Dump the gasoline all over.
The only other thing that could cause as much of an explosion is Sonic.
And we're totally going to do that Sonic only C squared episode one day.
At some point.
We'll tease it forever, but never
Yeah.
do it. So yeah, Kara, I think we've talked a lot. We talked about NFTs, we talked about the Matrix, we talked about digital downloads and VHSs and Pokemon Legends, and it was a good lineup of topics, I think.
I think so too.
Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say before we leave?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Caro__Taro. I'm going out of town this weekend. I'm actually heading to Orlando for AEW Revolution.
Ooh.
So I will have an article up about my live event experience on WrestleIn.com at some point next week, if you like wrestling. So watch out for that.
Cool. I am working on the 7 Remake video, obviously, so that means I have to record 7 Remake. I'm going to be recording the original game. I'm even going back and looking at the expanded universe, Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, Crisis Core, although that'll be brief and that won't be a major part of the video, but I am going back. And when that's done, I'm looking forward to just doing a whole bunch of crazy shit. I got a whole list of video ideas that I want to do, but I want to get Final Fantasy done and over with so I don't have a marathon hanging over my head anymore. The reason I haven't been flooding C-Squared episodes every single month is just I want there to be an equal flood of, regular content from me and C-Squared content, and I don't want it to be too much C-Squared because then I feel like you guys would be annoyed.
Why?
I don't know.
Don't you love hearing us? Hearing our lovely voices?
Yeah, don't you?
Don't you?
Don't you love us? But yeah, that's it. I am the Great Clement.
And I am Caro.
And we shall see you next time.
Bye. Take care, everyone. I'm acting like y'all are, in person. Wherever you're watching this.
That's the sign of a good podcaster, Kara.
Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you're doing. And thanks for listening to us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.